Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. Quick vlog to let you know what's going on at the moment. So, I am traveling down to Dragoncon in Atlanta. I'm going to be gone from Thursday through to Tuesday the 8th of September. And we're going to be doing the co-optional panel down there. Myself, Dodger, and Jesse will be there. That's all going to be live streamed, I believe. So keep an eye on my Twitter. I'll let you know where the live stream actually is. None of that stuff is up at the moment, so I couldn't tell you exactly where. Although, if you do head over to dragonconpodcast.com, that's dragonconpodcast.com, you can see the schedule and all that sort of thing available there. So that might have the live streaming link. If you are actually at Dragoncon and you want to try and attend the panel, then we will be over in Hilton 203. That's Hilton 203. Now, I am told that that room is not that big. So if you are intending to attend live, I'd suggest getting there early because it may fill up pretty fast. We're not 100% sure. We don't even know how many fans we have going into Dragoncon. It's not a convention that we've actually done anything at before, but it is a pretty small room. It's like 100 capacity, and I know we've filled out rooms with 1,000 before, so it is possible that it might fill out pretty early. Regardless, though, I'm supposed to be filming it and getting the VOD, so that should be going up on the channel at some point. Although, obviously, I can't make any guarantees because I don't know what the sound setup is like there. The quality might end up being awful. It's hard to say. It's outside of my control. I'm not the one producing it, so I can't really make any firm claims or promises. As a result of not being here, of course, there will not be all that many videos. I'm trying to do a few 15 minutes of game today so we can at least have some content while I'm gone. And I'm also working on things like the port report for Mad Max, which hopefully should be out today with this vlog, if everything has gone well. The priority really was to get the port reports done for MGS5 and Mad Max. There was no PC code available for either of those games, so we were put in this rather awkward position where two major PC releases came out on the same day, and then was followed up by Active Aggression, which is also a major PC release, so oh god, all sorts of nonsense is going down at the moment. Just pretty poor timing in general, considering we're going away for a few days, but hopefully the port reports are out and they're to your satisfaction. Try to be as detailed as possible, but, you know, there's always going to be a couple of things you miss. I think we hit all the major points across both games, so shouldn't be too much of a problem. And thankfully, neither of those ports were actually bad, so that's always nice. I don't like doing port reports on games that suck. That's always very depressing. But as regards to actual WTF coverage of those games, that's going to have to be next week. I'm going to try and play a bit more MGS5 while I'm away, because apparently it'll run on a toaster, so that should be just fine, so I can play it on my laptop. And then I'll see about doing a video once I get back, though that game is absolutely enormous. In fact, of course, they're both big open-world games. I think it'll certainly be easier to do a video on Mad Max, because that seems fairly straightforward, but MGS5 is systems layered upon systems and all sorts of weirdness, and honestly, the only Metal Gear game that I played was Rising, which has almost nothing to do with anything that's going on, so I don't really have too much of a basis for comparison, which I suppose is kind of useful for a lot of people, because there have been Metal Gear Solid releases on PC, but they are quite old, and they certainly were by no means recent, so I think a lot of PC gamers have perhaps not touched the Metal Gear Solid series because they haven't played it on console. I never owned a PlayStation around the time when Metal Gear Solid was a big thing. So, that's the perspective you'll be getting. I have no doubt people will complain, but such is the way of the internet, who cares? Outside of that, 15 minutes of game. So I wanted to explain a little bit about the format for those that didn't listen to my audio blog that came out a few days ago in regards to this. So we took a good look at the statistics and the analytics for those videos. And our conclusion based on those numbers was that the 3-game format is not optimal. It's basically too long. Now, this is not feedback that we received from the audience. This is actual analytical data that we have in the YouTube backend that we can look at. We can look at things like retention rates. We can find out exactly when people actually tuned out and so on and so forth. And our conclusion is, look, this show's just too long. And this is particularly the case when you're dealing with games that are maybe a little bit obscure and possibly not quite as interesting to the general audience. So the best way to deal with it is actually to split things up and to just do one game. Simple as that. Make it easier to view, make it more likely that people are willing to commit, and not oversaturate the channel with too many long videos. I love doing long videos, and it's obvious that the viewer base wants long videos in general, but in the case of that series, we were showing huge drop-offs, so I think the shorter videos make a bit more sense, and they're also just easier to make, they're quicker overall to edit, and that means that we can expose more indie games on the channel, which is something that I'm very passionate about. I want to do more of that. But it's difficult to do that if we're committing a full WTF is to each one, and I'd rather that series focused on games that either I'm really interested in or I know that the general audience is really interested in, i.e. big releases. People always seem to complain when I do WTF is on a game that's clearly not all that good, and people are like, well, why did you waste your time on that? And my reply to that is always, well, I've got to do something, you know, it's my job to release these videos, I've got to do something, and I don't know that the game's going to be bad until I play it, by which point I've committed too much time to really turn around and just play another game, because otherwise there just won't be a video that day. I think this is maybe a solution to that. It means that I can focus that series on things that I know that I'm interested in, or that I think that lots of people will be interested in, and then the more obscure stuff and perhaps the more niche stuff, the kind of genres that maybe I'm not too big a fan of, or games that simply don't really justify a big long video and lots of research, can end up on the 15 minutes of game series instead. Ultimately, I'm not really going to know whether or not that works until I've done a bunch of them, and then I can have a look at the data and the feedback afterwards. So we'll do a bunch more videos like that, see how they go, and then kind of go from there. I think the priority of the channel has to be showing off as many games as possible when it's reasonable and practical to do that. I don't really see the point in not doing that when we have a platform for it. And this is the biggest PC critique channel on YouTube, so it behooves us maybe to look at more Steam games. You know, there's so many at the moment that this is really something of an answer to that. I mentioned in the audio blog the size of my code backlog. I mean, it's over 300 games. It's ridiculous, and it keeps growing on a daily basis. And think about it this way. Mad Max came out on Tuesday, and I'm recording this vlog on Wednesday, so 24 hours after release. And Mad Max is almost off the popular new releases front page. That's nuts. There's so much. And in fact, if you go to all new releases, it's completely gone because it's buried under 10 pieces of DLC for Nobunaga's Ambition and all sorts of other things that are a little bit obscure, like Shower with Your Dad Simulator 2015, for God's sake. This is Steam now. There's so many games, so you need to adapt your format in order to take that into account, I feel. So we're going to try it, see how that works. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you will not. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say, honestly. There's not really all that much going on right now. Would like to remind people, of course, that the 95.5 The Weasel merchandise is available for the next few weeks. It's basically on sale until the end of September, I believe. So if you want to pick that up, head on over to tinyurl.com/955theweasel. That's tinyurl.com/955theweasel to pick up your shirt and poster if you so desire. Thanks to those that have bought it so far. It's actually selling really, really well, so we're very happy about that. And it certainly goes some way to make up for the terrible ad revenue that we've been getting for the last 6 months from YouTube. Alright folks, I am going to start packing for Dragoncon. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.